Okay. What up, people? It's your boy, Inspire for Change. Hope everybody's good. Hope everybody's blessed. You guys, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, then do subscribe, do like, do comment. There's going to be amazing content coming on this channel. But most importantly, I'm trying to inspire people and people from all walks of different lives, inshallah. So today I've got a great guest with me, A9 Fragrance, my brother Hassan. Thank you for being in your presence. Thank you for coming along, my brother.
Alhamdulillah, pleasure to be here.
I appreciate it, man.
Likewise, my bro.
Good, I love the way you conduct yourself, so I've got so much questions for you. I want to start from your upbringing, how old is you when you come to the UK?
I was pretty much born and bred here, but I was born technically in Egypt, Alexandria. I came here when I was like 7 months. So yeah.
So basically, you was born
basically born and bred. Yeah, that's how I was born and bred.
And where did you grow up? Where did you reside when you came to the country?
South London, so Kennerton.
Kennerton, yeah.
Kennerton, mainly around Kennerton and Campbell.
Okay, so
South London,
South East London, yeah.
South East London's always been my zone. Yeah, so pretty much.
Okay, and are you the oldest of your?
I'm the oldest sibling now. Yeah.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
See, so a lot of responsibilities.
Nah.
MashaAllah. So how would you say? Was you ever on the roads when you was a youngster, or was you ever mingling or doing? Obviously, I don't want you to expose anything that you was doing.
No.
But was you on the negative path as you were growing up in South East London? Because I know it could be a really rough area, and do you know what I mean? So.
Yeah, so with me, alhamdulillah, I've been privileged to be born into a family where, alhamdulillah, we had like a decent level of Islam. Our parents, taught us the character, the basic, etiquettes and principles of Islam. So alhamdulillah, that kind of was always, with me personally anyway, that's always, alhamdulillah, kind of been in my heart, and that consciousness of knowing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is always watching me, that's always been with me. But having said that, like you said, growing up in a particular area, you're, as they say sometimes, a product of your environment. So growing up in South London, obviously being exposed to what I've been exposed to, almost commonly known, whether that be the drug game, that called gangster lifestyle, the fitna of women. There's so many obviously different trials and tribulations, and of course, it's kind of inevitable that one will be afflicted by one or several of those trials. So yeah, I've obviously gone through, whether you want to call it the road life or street life or whatever. To a certain degree.
How old is you when you come on the roads?
You see, with me, actually, I would say I wouldn't really put a date or a number, and I'm not really someone who kind of registers things with dates and numbers. But I would say it was, when I started to have that little bit of freedom, was towards the end of my secondary school years. So
year 10, year 11.
Yeah, so around them sort of times is when you start to maybe have a little bit more, room from the parents where you can maybe go out on the weekends or come back home, a little bit later. So around them ages, I would say.
Okay, what would you say was the first encounter or anything you say you was doing that your parents wouldn't have been happy about, or what's the first thing that you came across? Was it violence? Was it drugs? What was it? What came into what made you want to come out there? What gave you
motivation?
The motivation, or took your attention and.
I've mentioned this before, and I still mention it. I kind of live by this. The motivation, still exists, and it's still the same motivation I still have, and it's what some would call, maybe the dream life, or what the idealistic, good life is. And it's when you see, like I said, people that have nice money, nice clothing, materials. They've got nice women. They call it the pleasures of life, and Allah mentions that in the Quran as well. Mentions about some of the pleasures in life, like al-mal wal-banun, the wealth and your children. So Allah mentions that these are the pleasures of the dunya, and So in terms of the pleasures, they haven't changed, but that was pretty much my motivation. Seeing people with money, pretty girls, dressing nice. And me personally, alhamdulillah, my parents did what they could and gave me what they can. But I was not one of the kids that had, call it the latest kicks. So I was on the receiving end of,
You're the oldest as well, so.
That's another thing, definitely. Because
usually when you're the youngest in the family, you get spoiled.
That's right.
But when you're older, you have to fug it out.
Actually, I look down on my older brothers, I'm like, you should be grateful for what you got. I never had that at your age. I never had no. You're getting the latest kicks, or you got an iPhone, I never had none of that stuff. So, but alhamdulillah, looking back now, and I came across, I think it was Steve Jobs, they call it one of his more, one of the most motivational speeches.
It's really good, yeah.
It's a really good speech actually,
Okay.
and it's quite inspirational. And one of the things he mentioned, and subhanAllah, it's very profound. He mentioned that you can only connect the dots going back, and what he means by that is when you look back at your life, you can sometimes see the hikmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, why certain things happen and why he maybe, you went through certain things, because they start to make sense. Looking forward at the time, you may be going through a certain trial and thinking, stuff Allah, obviously no one should be thinking like this, but sometimes you may think, why is this happening to me, or this is difficult, or I wouldn't want to be in this situation. But little do you know, sometimes them particular situations, them struggles, them trials are maybe the reason for great success later. And he gave obviously several examples in his life, and in my life personally, the struggles that I went through actually kind of built me, alhamdulillah, being the character that I am, that some people get defeated by people, for example, mocking them, looking down at them and criticizing them. For me, I use that as fuel, and I'm like, in my head I'm thinking, okay, say no more. You know what I mean? And alhamdulillah, like as I grew up, I learned a quote of Umar Khattab. He says, may Allah bless the man who says less and does more. And I realized that I've been living by that principle, and even more so now that I know that this is a praiseworthy trait, is where you don't talk and you just go and do action. So I remember one of the things I mentioned before is how I even got into training. It's on my documentary, for those that have seen it. I was sitting in...
Check it out, you guys. The link will be in my description.
Inshallah, yeah, good little watch. So I was sitting in school, just similar to this, and a girl comes in next to me, and I must have been year 9, and she literally gets her hand and puts her hand like that around my bicep. I was that slim. She couldn't fit her whole hand around, but she I could nearly fit my whole hand around your arm, and everyone started laughing. Ever since that day, brother, push-ups, milk.
You see, yeah, that fueled you.
By the time I got to year 11, I was different. My physique was different. I wasn't no mad, you know what I mean? But I wasn't what I was.
Yeah.
And it took that mockery, people laughing at me. Obviously, I was embarrassed at the time. It took that moment to give me that drive. And ever since
was you down at first though? Was you depressed? Was you down?
But you know what it is,
But what would you? Yeah, because there's a lot of people that get mocked and they get put down from people. What would you advise them, or what would you make them? How would you?
Yeah, so for me, like a good way to combat that is hope, because how I see it is I'm going to be better, like as in I can be better and I'm going to be better. So that's hope. That's hoping that I'm going to be better, obviously, because I'm not better yet. And then it's like, you know what? Cool. This is what I am now. So I'm going to do something about it. Because how I see it in life is I always like to think practically. So if I can't change something, then I've got to learn to be content with it. So for example, there's some things that we can't change. You know, maybe height. Even though nowadays there's nearly, I mean, you've got people doing height jobs and nose jobs, and I mean, people can change the whole physique. But there's some things in life that you cannot change. You cannot change your parents. You know, your parents are your parents, your biological parents. Your certain circumstances you're put in, you cannot change. So as a Muslim, you should learn to be content with that, and that will accept it, and that will give you contentment, because it's something that's out of your control. This is the qadr of Allah. But when it's something that you're in a position to change, for example, I'm not doing so well at school. Maybe if I applied myself a bit better, you know, done more revision, that's something I can change. Be concerned about those things in life, because you have power.
Because you've got the ability to
change it.
Yeah.
But what you can't change,
what people say to you.
Yeah, so
what people say to you, how people slander you,
yeah,
and stuff like that, it's out of your control.
That's what I'm saying, and so you shouldn't let people slander kind of like get to you unless you're using it as fuel. Use it as fuel, so reverse it. So now it becomes positive energy. So rather than you going home being depressed, flip that, be like, you know what, okay, cool, what can I do to change that situation I'm not happy about right now? Like I wasn't happy about being slim. Okay, cool, go and eat more.
Yeah,
you know,
go
and train, go in. You know,
yeah, if someone calls you broke, what do you go do?
Well, that's
make
what
sure
I was going to say.
Sorry,
that's exactly. No, right. Go say what you said.
Okay, if you go broke in it, like if you got one job and you feel like you're broke, go and get a second job.
Okay, that's and wallahi, this
or
is
get a third one until you feel. I know, wallahi, that mindset is so beautiful.
The reason why, alhamdulillah, and people, and this is kind of how I put my name on the map very quickly with the fragrances. And fragrances is I wouldn't say fragrance is my specialty. Actually, hustling is my specialty. And when you see my documentary, you see actually the way I learned to make money from a secondary school kid, random things. I just learned the art of hustling and grafting. You know, on the streets, and alhamdulillah, predominantly halal, I would say. It was predominantly halal until obviously I got trialed with a few things that I won't expose.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, it gets like that. Yeah, you know how it gets. Yeah.
I knew how to hustle, and that's why right now I implement that with my fragrance business. And even those who recently, you know, have seen what I've done and wanted to, you know, jump on it, you know, through my inspiration, they wouldn't be doing it the same way I do it. You know, anyone can start businesses right now and just pay, you know, any celebrity to shout it out. I can go and sell toothbrushes tomorrow and get celebrities to shout it out, and I'll just get bare followers. Anyway, I mean, these are things, not to say that this is necessarily wrong, but what I'm trying to say is, the way I do my things, the graft that I put in, you can't mimic that. You can't fake that. You can't pay for that, because that's years of grafting on the streets, going from shops, going from zones. So that's why my name rings bells on the streets, because I've been on the streets.
Yeah,
I've done my thing. Do you know what I mean? Whereas anyone can go start up a business tomorrow. You can go start up a business tomorrow if you pay the right people, promote it. I've got t-shirts, bam. You've got X amount of followers. You look like you're doing well, but are you doing well? You know what I mean? So don't overlook the hard work, and you know what I mean. That's one of the main things that I say, like the graft behind the things is
MashaAllah, I don't know about it, man.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, man, yeah, man, a lot of brothers from Hendon, little Iraqi brothers, so big up the Iraqi brothers, they told me to mention you, get me, they look up to you, MashaAllah, Mubarak, innit, like, you're a great role model towards them, man. There's so much questions that I want to ask you. So, so now, as you got up, so now you got to the age of, like, now you're in, so you obviously started training.
No, yeah.
So as you started training, as you said, you're a grafter. You like to hustle and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, like, did you go? Have you ever studied? Gone into uni?
I went uni only because of the pressure of my mum. So that's another thing I wanted to mention. Quick side note is obviously a lot of people probably go through this trial. I don't know if you've experienced it yourself. So a lot of our parents coming from Somalia, North Africa, maybe some of the Asian countries as well. They've got a traditional way of thinking, and I don't necessarily blame them. And you know, there definitely is some success within that route, which is, you know, school, sixth form or college, and then university, and then you go into a job. Like life, this is it. If you fall off that, or you do something different from that, you can be looked down as like maybe a failure or what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I'll give an example. So for example, for me, even what I was doing, sometimes I would give my mum money and she's like, no, you're not working. She don't acknowledge that what I'm doing is basically work. But because I'm not working for someone, she don't feel like, she's like, no, like I'm doing bad, and no, don't worry. And actually she's doing it from a kind, like, obviously
she's just going off what she knows.
Exactly.
And her intention, she ain't going to be held accountable for that.
No, of course.
Allah's not going to hold her accountable.
100%.
She's doing it from the kind of her heart.
Exactly.
So you have to have like patience and understanding for your parents.
Exactly. And that's why I say for people to be patient with obviously the traditional thinking. However, don't let that be, you know, a barrier to sometimes exploring other avenues. Even for example, nowadays there's things like apprenticeships. You don't have to be doing your own hustles. And there's a lot of creative people that are now starting businesses and little projects along like this. Even this place that we're in today, you know, it's showing initiative from someone who's come and tried to do something that's different. And I respect these things. I mean, so and that's what it's about. So sometimes, like I said, people don't realize that that pressure that comes from them backgrounds actually can sometimes, you know, be overwhelming. So going back to your point about uni, I initially went uni for a year, but I'll be honest, I used to say to myself I wasn't academic, but I've come recently because I started to do other courses. Started to do some other studying. Alhamdulillah, I know it's a kind of way when I apply myself. Actually, I'm actually got, you know, I can.
You can do your thing. That's the will of Allah.
Alhamdulillah.
It's by the will of Allah.
100%. But at that time, uni, school, I didn't apply myself, so I wasn't. You know what I mean? I wasn't there. My head was somewhere else.
So you knew you was a grafter, yeah? You knew you was a grafter. What made you get into the idea of selling perfumes?
So why perfume specifically is because with perfume I see very few barriers. Like with clothing, you've got to worry about a person's size and fit, colour. There's so many, like, you know, barriers to the sale. So for example, even if something's your size, let's say you are normally a size small or medium.
Yeah.
I bring you a medium t-shirt in my brand. It may not fit like another medium. It might not fit you. Yeah. So there's already a barrier. The style might not be your style. Do you get it? You might like what I have, but I don't have your size.
Yeah, mashallah.
So you're not going to buy it.
Yeah.
Whereas with fragrance, it's universal. You like the smell, you're buying it. White, black, tall, short, fat, thin, doesn't matter.
It don't matter, it's the smell.
It's, do you know what I mean? And it's a consumable one. That's why I linked it to the drug game. And obviously, you know, in going through certain things in life, you kind of see certain things, and you sometimes can use the maybe a bad experience and turn it into a good experience, or take the fire from the bad, if that makes sense. So
basically,
this is a similar blueprint.
So basically, and take the bad from the good. So if you know you're a grafter, you're a hustler, you know you can lick them shots out and stuff like that, turn that into a halal memes, a legit memes, so you can't put yourself into prison. So if you're really a hustler, that means you can sell anything.
That's it.
Yeah. So
that's it, my bro. That's it, exactly. And that's what it's about. Like, sometimes people don't realize they're on the road, and some people are actually very intelligent, and they've got actually very good systems, and you know, some of them are actually very organized, which I respect because I'm a very organized person. So when I see organization within a business, whether that's a street business or whatever, and I can see that this is done, and that's why they even refer to certain crimes as organized crime. It's not no random person who just went and just stabbed someone or done this, done that. No, there's like some criminals actually are very organized in their moves and the things that they do, I think. And that's why they refer to it as organised crime. Premeditated.
Yeah, and it's a thin line between that, you know. They think you're a mastermind.
That's
The way it's like right now, if I hit road right now and I see someone, I've got my knife on me and I stab them, then that's just a stabbing. But if I said, you know what, I know what time he's leaving work, I know where he parks his car, you done the research.
Done your homework.
And once they see that, yeah, that's a problem.
That's what I'm saying, and that is an actual skill. That's actually a praiseworthy skill, but you're using it maybe in the wrong way. So we're not praising.
So how would someone use that? If someone was a driller, yeah, say if it's a driller,
yeah,
and they know how to hit up boxes and stuff,
yeah,
how would they use that in a legit life?
To give you a black and white answer,
yeah.
maybe I'm
I know, I'm sorry,
I'll
put you on the spot.
No, it's calm, but like you said, that's a skill. So maybe look at something that is permissible, something that is, you know, lawful, and where that skill would be applied, can be applied. So for example, using my example, you know, for example, maybe understanding, you know, how to sell, how to buy, and you know, how to create systems or street systems. I've done that with my fragrances. I built up a line. I realized, you know, with drugs, it's a consumable, and what that means is it's something that people will use and need to come back, just like food. You go to the chicken shop today, you're full, you're fine, but then tomorrow you might go back again and again, because food is a consumable.
Yes.
Whereas a t-shirt, you can wear that t-shirt for a month, 2 months. If you look after your clothing, it could last you longer. So you're not necessarily in dire need to go and get it again. Fragrance, once that runs out, you're like, oh, I like that, so I need to re-up again. So I created a system like that, and obviously when people re-up, they call, man, obviously started covering zones and locations, same ways people go to, they call it country and things like that, and set up their bases and build clientele in different zones. So alhamdulillah, that's kind of what I've done. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. So how long have you been selling your perfumes for?
I've been doing this for about maybe 8 years now.
8 years, bro?
8 years, bro.
You never look back?
It's a graph, because for me...
Was there up and downs though?
Of course, 100%.
And was at one point at first, did you feel like giving up and say, you know what, this is all long?
Not even at first, that thought can come across your mind.
Even these times?
It can always happen, but alhamdulillah, and this is a principle and a point that a lot of people can take, is consistency. Consistency is very important, and sometimes, you know, and as I always say this to people, you know, don't be willing to take the good if you can't have the bad. It's like people, for example, want the body but don't want to go gym. You know, you want the knowledge, you don't want to study. It doesn't work like that, you know. You want to put on weight but you're not eating, or you want to lose weight but you're eating too much. Do you know what I mean? People are not willing to do what it takes, and especially with this era we live in, subhanAllah, we live in an era where things are done so easily, and you can just kind of fake things. In the sense, for example, someone wants to lose weight, they're going to do an operation, rather than trying to do, you know what I mean? Or someone wants to put on weight, so they'll go and pay and get injected this, injected that, you know. So I understand that there's a lot of pressure because of social media, and that's probably the biggest dilemma of our era. People are looking at things that's not benefiting them, and it could even be something permissible. And what I mean by that, you could be looking at something, I may look like another person, and like, you know, you may look and think, oh, they're making more money than me, they've got better clothing than me, and this is what social media is. And a lot of people suffer from self-esteem issues, and they want to do things, and you know, whether that be, like I said, physically to themselves, want to change certain body parts or whatever, or they want to go and, like you said, maybe do certain moves or certain things just to make money, because they've seen someone else got more money. So a lot of this is coming from the pressure that they're giving to themselves by looking at things that's not benefiting them.
So how can they stay content?
How can you say content?
Yeah.
So Prophet ﷺ gave us a very, the best, he gave us the best kind of remedy for that, and it's simply, look at those who have less than you, you will be content. You know, today you're walking, look at you, if you go past people, for example, cannot walk. So you said, you're grateful.
They wish they could walk.
You know what I mean? I can walk, but you know what, someone today, I know many people in prison, and sometimes I think, subhanAllah, like, look, I can just get up right now, walk, go to the toilet when I want, go outside, go to the shop. Some people don't even have that privilege, but they're sitting in cells for X amount of hours, you know what I mean? They, for example, they can't get married. At least, for example, you're out on the road, you can get married. There's certain things that I think about.
That marriage thing, bad people, it sounds good, bro. A lot of people not getting married out here, bro. But I don't want to say that. But it sounds good, because as you say, it goes back to social media, innit? A lot of people, they've got an image.
Yeah.
If they feel like they're not fitting that image, they feel like they're not ready for marriage.
Yeah.
Get me? But that's when you go back to your deen. You understand? And that's when your deen humbles you. That's why I'm so happy. But if it was not for the deen, I won't be sitting in front of you right now, my brother.
I don't want to sound hypocritical, because actually, you know what, I could say I'm on the same journey when it comes even to this marriage thing. And you know what, there's a lot of kind of technicalities with it, but at the end of the day, like, for me personally, especially now that obviously one's trying to, you know, I mean, alhamdulillah, like, try to implement and practice the deen as much as you can, you know, how to go about marriage, because I think a lot of people there's an issue with that. Obviously nowadays there's things like apps and things like that. Personally, I don't know, I see them as problematic. and I'm not going to make that ruling on everyone. Obviously, this is not even a ruling.
Yeah.
But obviously, each individual will know themselves. Me coming from a street background, knowing what I'm about, knowing what I'm capable of, knowing, you know what I mean, my history, I know that me putting myself, for example, in some of these things is problematic because, for example, you can see and understand certain things, you know, because there's a lot of, you're going to get good people on there, but you're also going to get bad people on there. And for an innocent person, sometimes they may not suffer from that, and even then, an innocent person can potentially suffer. So there's certain avenues that are problematic, like I said, nowadays, and we're in an era, going back to what you said, the social media is a big problem because in its expectations, you're looking at how many guys or guys looking at how many sisters.
Oh, how many? How much is
there's so many
50K. My best friend got 30K. So how I done? And he's offering me 10, but I don't deserve that. Does he think he's better than me? It's not that. It's mad.
Yeah, there's so many.
That's why you have to just be content.
No.
Again, that's why you have to just always be content. And obviously, just count every one thing that I do every morning, or whenever I'm feeling down and I feel like, you know what, life is getting really hard on me, I just count my blessings and say, alhamdulillah, I move my fingers, alhamdulillah, I can see my eyes, alhamdulillah, I ring my mum on the spot. I say, alhamdulillah, the fact that I can ring my mum. I say, assalamu alaikum, how are you? You're right. Just I say, you know what, that just humbles me. Certain people don't have their mother here. Getting certain people don't have their father here. 100%. Understand stuff like that. So just what you have, just be grateful for. Because what you have, people wish they could have.
100%.
You understand? And what you want from other people, you can make that.
Exactly.
Eventually, you just have patience and consistency, as you mentioned.
100%. The Prophet said that if the son of Adam had a mountain of gold, he would desire another mountain of gold. And if you look at your own life, you realize we sometimes have goals, and when we achieve them, does the desire stop? It doesn't. There's always something we want. Right now, if I asked you, is there things you want? You told me, yeah, I have this.
It won't stop. The list won't stop.
It never stops. So, like you said, you know, to learn to stop, not look, you know, to stop looking at maybe the, you know, things that you want so much and start to maybe look at what you do have. You start to be content. You know?
It's just like my brother, Abdul Latif. You know, Abdul Latif is
Allah bless him.
Allah bless him. Very good brother. Mubarak. He's saying to me, good. I mean, he was just talking in it, because he runs his construction business. Mubarak. And he says, he's like, oh, good. He said, you know what, us human beings, like, we don't need a lot to live on. 100%. That loaf of bread right now, that can survive you for the day. No. It's just what we think. Like right now, he said right now, good. I can go buy a car now for 30 grand or 20 grand or something like that. But what is that proving, good?
100%.
He said, what is that proving? Is that proving to other people that I've got a nice car? You understand? I can go eat posh restaurants and stuff like that and have a nice dinner, but what is that proving? That bread got me full as much as that food got me full. So when I chat to people like that, it's so
mindset is a very big thing, actually. And like I said, I think one of the biggest trials of our era is social media for everyone. And I'm sure many people would agree, even those that maybe like social media, more than likely agree that this is a big trial of time, and there's many trials that come from it. Like sometimes people just see certain black and white trials, like, you know what I mean? But there's some trials that you don't even see. Even, for example, there was a show, I don't know if you've heard of it, it was on Netflix for a little while, I don't know if it still is. It's called The Social Dilemma.
I've never heard of it.
The Social Dilemma, yeah. Some of the founders of these platforms or some of the algorithms are saying we designed these, but we cannot escape them. We're affected by them. And the guy will say, I would go home, I've got my wife and kids in the house, and I'm just on my phone. I spend an hour, hours gone like that, just by going through certain emails. I'm addicted to Pinterest, I'm addicted to email, I'm addicted to, you know what I mean? Like you even find yourself sometimes you wake up in the morning, you go through your phone, you realize, wait, half an hour, hour's gone, or like you start refreshing the certain traits that we have, habits we have, we keep refreshing certain things.
But why is that still got the same likes? So 1 second, you ain't even moved yet. Like, you go, oh, hello. I know, it's for Hamad, yeah.
So these are so many psychological things that we're not realising that are actually there, and you know what I mean? It's a big dilemma, like I said. And so kind of like me, sometimes I'll just take like a break from it, and it's so refreshing, bro. You feel like you're human again, like go and train, you know what I mean? Go and eat some good food, go and just spend time. Even sometimes I drive and I say, I'm not going to listen to nothing. You know, I like to listen to lectures, you know what I mean? Sometimes or things like that, but sometimes listen to nothing, bro. Your mind speaks to you, and you're just driving. Like, they're quite biblical, especially late night drives. You're just driving, and you just like thoughts just come through your head, and you just start contemplating life. And like you said, it's not complicated. The Prophet said, if you wake up and you've got a roof on top of your head, you've got food for the day, and you've got security, you're like a kid.
You're better than half of the people.
People right now, like you said, some people in certain places of the world, they're hearing gunshots and the house being bombed and things like that. Can you imagine that?
They sleep together, so they can die together.
Right, that's
so imagine
some people haven't got clock bulb. It's cold. Like we're in our houses sometimes and it's cold. That's something I got.
Last night was cold.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Cold out there last night.
That's actually there's people on the streets sleeping. Even sometimes maybe even in this country. you know, maybe not as much, but
so yeah, people go through pain in all different places. But one thing that I realised, is like before, like maybe 3 years ago, I started getting closer to my Lord. Alhamdulillah. I've done my itikaf like 2-3 times. It changed my life, you know what I mean? Allah put more into my heart like that. Boom. But when I realised, I used to keep myself to myself. So I used to go to different masjids. As I go to different masjids, and it's on my own thing. Bam, bam, bam. Like my brother Imran Dawah, man, he's saying to me, Guled, show me your calendar. I showed him my calendar. I've got this meeting at 11 and I've got another one at 5. He said, bro, you've got too much gaps between your day. You need to fill out these gaps. Because if you don't fill out the gaps, the shaitan's going to fill it for you.
It's a good point. It's a good point.
Seriously.
Occupation, and that's something that I've noticed. Actually, so apparently, like you said, you know what I mean, I can relate to that. Actually, wallahi, and I always say sometimes I make this statement because obviously, actually, as we know, iman goes up and down. And I may be sitting here and maybe some of the things that I'm saying may sound very, you know what I mean, nice and good, but actually at the end of the day, like you said, maybe you have people that look up to you and inspired by you. And alhamdulillah, you know,
Well,
I pray that obviously Allah, you know, makes me better than what they think of me.
I mean,
but
me too.
At the end of the day, at the same time, to not sound like people, one has many sins, one has many weaknesses. I'm not even saying that to sound humble. This is the reality of dunya and this is the reality of life. So I have this statement, and when I'm in a good state, wallahi, I say to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there is nothing greater than being in a state of obedience to you. And you know, as a person, we have fitrah. We know when we're doing stuff that's khair and that's correct, and we know when we're maybe delving into haram or we're in a bad state. And I'm like, there is nothing worse than being in a bad state, especially when you have, you know, and I pray that Allah blesses you iman. When you have that level of iman, you start to realize that even when you're doing haram, you know it's haram, so you can never be fully satisfied because you know this is wrong. You feel guilty. It's different to someone who's doing something and there's no guilt. There's no, shame, there's no guilt. So to them, they don't, you know, that's why Allah lets them have the pleasure of the dunya for a temporary time until their time comes. So, like you said, that goes to ikhlas, you know, when you do your thing and you're doing it in secret, because especially with the connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, ideally, the good deeds and the things, you know, unless there's a purpose, it's between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know, it's not for us to go around, and especially social media once again now.
Dangerous.
But people go and hajj and doing and doing this and reciting Quran and things like that. Alhamdulillah, if someone is doing it with sincerity and khair, I pray that Allah, you know, preserve your sincerity.
Your intentions, whatever your intentions are, in your sincerity. If you're doing it so you can motivate other people to come, then alhamdulillah. But you're feeling like,
to show, look,
Allah knows
trying to get more likes or more
Allah knows you more than you know yourself.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
you know what I mean?
I'll be scared to do that. That's what I'm saying.
You should do that.
I'll be scared. Allah, do you know why? Because
it takes 1%. It's 1% of pride, of ego, or anything.
That's it, and that shouldn't be rejected. So for me,
I fear
that.
I fear that.
Because you can start with the right intention. But even now with what I do in my business, and I'm like, subhanAllah, as a kid I used to want to be a footballer. And I was very talented as a footballer, alhamdulillah, but because of maybe my religion, maybe my race, maybe my height, you know.
Your height?
Back then I was small. No, back then I was kind of mad, small. Yeah, small and skinny. Remember, I was small and skinny back then, so I wasn't as big as that.
Because of the chick.
Yeah, so I was like small. So maybe managers look at me and think, nah. So I never really made it in football. And now I see the wisdom, going back to connecting the dots, going back. I'm like, subhanAllah, now, back then I was like, why? Like, I'm this good, alhamdulillah, I'm not being arrogant. Like, how come man's not made it? And I'll put in work, actually. I used to pay people to record me, so I used to always think inside the box. I used to pay people to record me. If you go on my footage now, actually, you see, man, raw, like, how could you not at least make it to a higher level? You know what I mean? Pro, maybe like, or even semi-pro. I played semi-professional, but qadar Allah, I didn't make it.
And you're so happy you did it.
Wallahi, I'm happy I made it. I'm happy I did not make it because I see now, with the business that I've got, the little bit of fame I'm experiencing, the fitna of women that comes with it, I'm like, I'm struggling to handle this. Imagine if I was a footballer. You're talking
swallowed.
Take it over. Oh, and I'm seeing people, I'm not going to mention their names, or we have people that even some people from my country, and you know, they started off a certain way, but then now their principles are changing. Actually, you've seen them, you know,
celebrating certain things. Yeah, I know.
Do you know what I mean? But I'm thinking the brother used to hold Quran and things like that, and then now you're doing that. Like, you know, I mean, he's a Muslim, but I don't attach to my country and things like that. But I attach to a Muslim. I don't care what race you are. You could be Somali, you could be Jamaican,
I'm Muslim.
English.
Before I'm
you're my guy. You're my guy. You're my guy. That's it. You're my people's. But it's not all because he's from my race. No, but I don't care if you're gonna go. You know, what I mean, do some madness, but man, associate from you.
Vice versa, if there's someone from a Somali background or something, they do the same thing. You feel the same pain as well because that's your brother. That's doing something. And
it depends actually, because that's what I'm saying. I don't attach to race. I don't know if that's wrong, but I don't attach to race. My loyalty is to the believers. Any Muslim brother, you're my people. I don't even.
This is what I'm saying. If Somali brother doing the same thing.
Yeah.
they're doing the same thing and you're celebrating something else,
Yeah.
you feel the same pain.
Yeah, of course. Oh, yeah, if he's Muslim,
yeah,
if he's Muslim,
and you're thinking, wow, like, my brother, why is he doing that?
Yeah, I'll be upset. Yeah,
that's what's up.
100%. Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah,
Of course, that's 100%. So that's the thing. That's what I'm saying. So that's why I say I'm grateful that I didn't make it like that because.
So there's another thing where people, like, what they try to understand, what they try to do, they try to make people understand our religion, our deen. Our deen is not meant to be understood. If whoever wants to understand it, they can understand it. But even me, guess what I do? I clock something, you know, and I'm just to make everyone feel like, I want everyone to feel like they're welcomed, innit? I will have a caption. I'll post something motivational, yeah? Another caption, instead of writing Allah, I'll write God. Understand?
No.
Just to make other people feel like they are
So
part of something.
inclusive.
Yeah. And is that wrong for me to do that? Because God is Allah.
No. If it's just a translation and you're translating it so that people can understand, because maybe someone else might read Allah. But generally speaking, I say most people know, but some people, like you said, may think, oh, Allah's only, you know what I mean?
For Muslims.
Yeah.
Do you know where I'm coming from?
No.
But at the same time,
Allah's the creator of.
But am I meant to make people understand?
It depends, because if you're if you're doing something to compromise kind of your deen to what's the word, to please the people, this is wrong, because then the people will be displeased with you, and so will Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But if you don't compromise and you preserve what Allah has preserved, and you basically convey Islam as it is, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be pleased with you, and even the people will respect you. Maybe not everyone will be pleased with you, but they'll respect you, because you don't play with Allah's religion. You don't change it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And
that's why sometimes in life, and obviously, you know, we all go through trials and tribulations, so we're not looking down at anyone in particular. Yeah. And I pray that obviously Allah, you know, strengthens us. But for example, let's just say we're like they say, a Muslim person is chilling in a pub and drinking with some guys. Maybe they're calm and they're chilling with him, and then another person wouldn't do that. They invite him, he says, no, I'm Muslim, I can't. They might not like him because he did that, but they respect him, because they know that Muslims shouldn't be drinking. And then they know, because a lot of non-Muslims know that Muslims, for example, pork and alcohol, they're very commonly known even by non-Muslims, that no, you shouldn't be doing that. So they'll be like, oh, you shouldn't be drinking though, because you're a Muslim. People don't respect people who say there's something and they don't really follow it.
I know, and it hurts, and sometimes, you know, it hurts.
Not to look down at those that do, like, we look down on the sin,
if I do something
wrong,
sorry to interrupt there, if I do something wrong, because I'm so passionate about what you said there, if I do something wrong, like, and someone looks at me and says, but ain't you Muslim?
You're representing.
I get a stab in my heart straight away.
You're representing.
I'll be like, I'll be like, I am Muslim, but obviously the deen's perfect, but the people ain't.
Well, the biggest advice that I can give, and Allah, and this could be one of the biggest points even within this podcast, and this is to every believer, and something that I strive hard to implement, is conceal your sins. The Prophet ﷺ said that all sins are forgiven except those that are done publicly. Now, when you do a sin publicly, you are showing that you're not ashamed of the sin, because if you're ashamed of something, you're not going to go and publicize it. Yeah. Also, you're comfortable doing the sin because you're doing it in front of people. You know, for example, you don't urinate in front of everyone because you're embarrassed. You go, we have fitr, you go and hide yourself. So that's one of the things that I would definitely say, conceal your sins. Whatever sin you're doing, just hide it for the sake of Allah.
For the sake of Allah.
Not because you're trying to hide from the people, because you don't want them to shame you, because that's different now. Now you're not fearing Allah and you're fearing the people.
What are they going to think?
So there's a difference.
I know, man.
So conceal your sins.
Well, it's so deep. Well, it's so deep,
bro. I could have more sins than many people, and people may think I'm this, but Allah knows best, maybe, and I pray that Allah forgives me, but maybe because one strives to conceal his sins, not to publicize his sins, and not to promote sins, that maybe I may be from those that Allah forgives, and I pray that I am. So that would be my advice to anyone, and you will feel the rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because you're striving to, you know what I mean? One time, actually, I'll tell you a story. Bro, I was walking past this car, I was going somewhere to deliver something, and then I see this sister, and she's smoking in a car, covered. So actually, people don't smoke in their car because obviously the smoke's going to go everywhere. So, you know what I mean, as in like, you're going to start suffocating, like, as a car. People smoke outside. Yeah, and the whole car's going to be, you know what I mean? So I was in the window. So I spoke to her,
you spoke to her,
I approached her, bro. I told her straight, I was like, sis. I told her straight, I was like, sis. I think she was a Somali sis as well, you know.
So imagine that.
I was like, sis, are you doing this? Are you smoking in a car because you're trying to hide from the people? She's like, yeah. I was like, may Allah reward you. Like, obviously not for sin, but may Allah reward you for trying to hide your sin. I respect that, because generally speaking, people she may expect it is for you to like, wow, you're Muslim, you're in hijab, why are you smoking? someone may have done that, you know what I mean?
No,
but actually, this is not good akhlaq for a Muslim, and this is not going to motivate her. That might even make her go further from the deen. Like, well, I was like, sis, wallahi, I respect that. Because it shows she's concerned, and maybe Allah knows best. Right now, this sister she might stop smoking. Allah knows best, because when you do something, you know, for the sake of Allah, you take one step to Allah, Allah will take 10 steps towards you. So you're taking that step to try and overcome that sin, Allah will aid you, because you have the niyyah to do something about it. And that's why so many people in life, like, and that goes to in general, like whether trying to start a business, trying to start a grind, trying to make money, have you taken steps to go and do something about it, or you just sitting there wanting things and not doing nothing? Take the steps, then inshallah action will start to come, doors will start to open. Because actually, even with what I'm doing.
So what basically with her, yeah, what you did, sorry to interrupt, and with her, what she did, so she said, like, it's a thing where if Allah said, if you're not gonna have higher for me or shyness for me, have shyness for my people on what you're doing. Don't publicize your thing. Like, if you're gonna do it, if you're not gonna respect me, respect my people. Is that hadith?
I'm not sure, I don't know that one, but maybe that, I'm not
sure. Yeah, they say, if I'm not gonna get short, this does get short. If you're not gonna respect me, then because that's what she was doing. She's not publicising her thing.
No, I respect her.
I'd say if you're not gonna, yeah, and so at least she's get me. So yeah.
Oh, I respect that girl. May Allah bless her.
And
bless her to overcome that trial that that sin that she's in. But I fully respected that, bro. Fully, I clocked that. I was like, raw, because obviously I had to even look twice and think like, you know what I mean? Like, well, I just clocked what she's doing, and I just thought, you know what, them words of encouragement could be the thing that could potentially help her overcome. I think sometimes you need that, someone externally to come and show you that, bro, like.
But it's so deep sometimes, yeah, because the sister that's sitting in the car, yeah, smoking in the car and trying to hide it from the people, and the ones that's standing outside and smoking in front of people, they get the same energy. Sometimes.
No, that's exactly.
And so that sister sitting in the car thinking, what's the point? I'm also just stand outside myself.
No.
You know, she still get the same energy as me. No. But that's a whole different subject, yeah. One thing that I want to mention is, yeah, and I think this is going to wrap up our podcast, is tell us that big L you took. You took a big... But first of all, I want to say, Jazakallah khair. My brother, A9 bust me. If you guys know, you know. Imam Shakil, thank you for the first one. It's almost finished, so the brother just really re-up right now. Just got a re-up, Allah Mubarak. Smells amazing. As we walked in, the brother's thinking, who got married today? You got married. So yeah, tell me about the L that you took recently.
So you're talking about the £10,000 sprays powder.
Oh yeah, man.
You know what, there's been a lot of controversy over that.
What's this
video. So this is a limited edition game. There's a few of them left. So what we do, we release limited edition scents, and there's a limited number of them. So that's that's one of them. That's
what's this? What's this? Oh, okay, so it's just Robert.
This is Roland. Yeah, that's one of our Rolands.
Oh, Barakallahu feet. Just like there's gonna be a link in the bio, so you can have a link.
Yeah, there's a few of them.
Yeah, you guys hit him up. Support the brother.
Inshallah.
Wallahi, I'm not gonna lie to you. Brother, it's serious thing, bro. I'm telling you now, you know. But yeah, what was I saying to you? Yeah. So that 10 grand loss you took.
So, you know what, I'm happy that we're actually speaking about this, because you know what, there's been a bit of controversy, and I actually wanted to come out publicly to speak about it, because there's been obviously many positive comments in the sense that, you know what, I'm going to say they're all positive, but some that people have interpreted as negative. For example, I even had like people come up to me like, oh, look at these haters saying, oh, you're being wasteful, you're being this. I'm like, no, that's not hate. I'm like, I agree with them.
Positive criticism.
No, and I agree with them, because to them they don't understand the full picture, so it looks like one's being wasteful. Okay. And me as a person and as a Muslim, alhamdulillah, I don't believe in waste. You know, I do not like to waste anything. You know, so throwing away £10,000 worth of perfume definitely looks like waste, because at the very least you could have given it away to charity. Some people said maybe peel off the stickers and give it to a masjid. Now the story behind this is basically I released my first ever private collection scents, and you obviously got one of them.
Yeah, I got one of them in my jacket pocket.
They were amazing. They were amazing, and they sold out. So with those, with the private collection, we obviously, once we sold out, we got a next batch, and this is where the issue was. So when we did a quality check on the next batch, it wasn't as good as the first batch. So we sold out, we needed a re-up, we got the re-up, and I'm like, whoa, this is not the same. I had a bit of an issue with my supplier, and I'm thinking like, what's he done? Like, are they diluted? Are they? There's so many thoughts. Obviously,
so you got 10k worth of
products,
yeah, really. And it's not what.
And it's not basically it's not something that I could sell with my name.
So basically your thing was 10 out of 10, that I remember this thing was like 8 out of 10, 7 out of 10.
No, I wouldn't even say that.
Even 5, 4?
I don't even want to put a number on it, so I don't want to be unjust, but it wasn't to my standard. That's what I'm going to say. Okay. It was not to my standard, and I couldn't sell it.
Okay.
So I was in a situation now, I've spent money, and then obviously it's not up to standard, so I then spoke to the supplier. I was like, look, I kind of had to put it on him and tell him, like, look, you've got to compensate me and basically cover the cost. I didn't charge him the selling price, I just charged him the cost price.
Yeah,
so I just got back but the agreement was that obviously there was an agreement now. So he paid me back all my money, surprisingly. I actually didn't, so may Allah bless him for that, because I was surprised that he did that. I didn't expect that. I thought I'm going to be in a situation. But alhamdulillah, the brother paid up, and yeah, I now obviously was in agreement with him that basically I would dispose those products. So I went on the prison visit, and this is how this actually happened, because I told the guy basically, so I kept the products, he gave me about money, and he's like, I don't want the products. So I was like, okay, cool. So I now have the products and I have my money. So when I was on this prison visit, I was just telling one of my guys, I was like, bro, like I told him the scenario, look, this is what's happened, and I'm gonna give these scents out as like basically gifts and get people to promote it or whatever. He's like, actually double check with the guy that gave you back the money if it's okay. And I was like, why would he say
levels, you know? Hey bro, it's levels, you know?
And I was like, subhanAllah, what he said actually come to be true, because I told him, I don't think he's gonna mind. Actually, when I went to speak to the guy, my supplier, I was like, is it okay if I do this? He's like, no. Wallahi, I respected it, because you know what? He paid me for it. He has every right to say what he wants.
You ain't got no right to go sell off.
That's what he said.
No,
he
even
said
if you give it out for free, it's
exactly,
still not
no. Unless he gave me permission to.
Yeah,
which he said
no.
Yes. So because he said no, Akhi, and now this goes back to being honest and a trustworthy person, Akhi, he wouldn't know if I sold them or didn't. Akhi, my bottles are the same, as in he's not with me every day. He's not going to know if I sold a bottle. So I could have been up. You know, or some people may think you would have been up, because as a Muslim, you know, cheating will never get you up. So I knew I'm not going to sell them, nor can I give them away now, even though maybe I wanted to. But I couldn't give them away on that basis, because my kalima, my word, and a Muslim is bound by his covenant. When I make an agreement, I'm keeping it. If it's £1 million, I'm still keeping it. It doesn't change. It doesn't change. Your word doesn't change and shouldn't change, if regardless of the amount of money, regardless of who it's to. If you give your word, honour it. And this is something that's very rare nowadays.
So basically, you couldn't, so that just wraps up everything where all the people, what they were thinking, they think that he was raping stuff, because you didn't have the right to go serve. You could have gave it back to him, and he could have given it to charity if he wanted to, but he didn't want it.
No.
So he just wanted you to waste it.
To dispose it. He said to dispose it.
Because that was the agreement.
That was the agreement.
I had the agreement. You see this, it's level.
So this is basically, that would exactly, like you said, that would conclude and summarise why we had to throw it, rather than, for example, like you said, like what some people, you know, may Allah bless them, suggested, you know, but give it to people that are in need, or give it to you know, local mosques, or local mosques or something. So I understand that, and like I said, that's why I'm not upset with those comments, and that's why sometimes, as people sometimes as well, we take things too personally, and you know, or take things in the wrong way. If someone's giving me just advice, even if maybe I don't like it, maybe it's not comments that you know, people would deem as positive. Well, if it's real, I'm accept it, and a Muslim is just whether for him or against him. So I was with them when they're saying that's wasteful. I'm in line with you. I agree with you, but you don't know the full story. Now you do.
Now you guys also respectfully. So we need to see the whole picture before we jump to conclusion, because we're only human beings, isn't it? And that's the first thing that, when I looked at it, I was thinking, this is a bit peculiar. Then when you mentioned it to me on the way here, I was like, oh, Ak, mashallah, and that's why Allah's going to put more barakah into your business, inshallah. Inshallah, my brother. But you know what? Get me, we're going to wrap it up from there. Jazakallah khair. Definitely going to sit down with you again. One day we'll probably have a couple of brothers and we'll talk about a couple of topics in the community and what we can do, and hopefully we can work together and come together, inshallah, because we've got good energy, and inshallah, life's too short, man.
That's what it's about, uniting, and you know what I mean, supporting one another. I mean, like, alhamdulillah.
Thank you, man. Barakallahu feekum. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you guys. Your boy Inspire for Change. You guys check out my brother A9 Hassan for A9 Fragrance, and there's gonna be a link in the bio in the description box for the documentary and for the new perfume that he's sending, the new edition. Yeah. Alright, cool. You lot love and take care. Assalamu alaikum. Respect.
Nice.